Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We continue with our in the second chapter 2.2 hatchery design and construction. There are two types of hatchery system, which is the large tank hatchery and small tank hatchery. Where all this hatchery we have the main aims, which is to achieve the production target. Thus, this will determine the size of the hatchery. Alright, the tank capacity is based on a approximate ratio between algae culture tank and lava rearing and nursery tanks. So, the most common desirable algae tank capacity is about 10 to 20% of the larvae rearing tank capacity. Alright, hatchery tank. Now we're using the example for the shrimp rearing. How you want to determine the algae culture tank with the production target. Right, to estimate the holding tank capacity used in a big hatchery system, such as for spawning, larva rearing, and nursing, utilizing the same tanks. Right. Just give an example that your production target is about to producing 10 million post larvae at the size of PL25. And you will be able to run 7 cycles per year with the duration of per run is about 40 to 45 days, including pen preparation. So your production target per run should be 1.5 million of post larvae at the size PL25. Right, once you know your production target for the for every cycle, so you will know how much of larvae or tank that you're gonna use. Okay, let's say for every tons of tank or water, you will be producing 3000 of PL. Okay, to achieve 1.5 million of PL, so you will need around 500 tons of the tank capacity. So you will get 1.5 million of post larvae per cycle. Okay, to estimate the algae culture tank is, we are using here 10% of the larvae tank. So you will need 50 tons of the algae culture tank. That one is referring to the 10%. If you stick to put it on the 20%, so you will need around 100 tons of algae culture tank. That is example how you want to calculate the ratio of the algae culture tank to the holding tank capacity or larvae tank. Right, size of hatchery, small scale hatchery. In Southern East Asia countries, such hatchery entails a capacity investment of not more than 30 grand, and the operational cost is less than 10 grand. Okay, this one is the small scale hatchery. So the capital investment, the operational cost is quite low. As compared to the medium scale hatchery, this type of hatchery is relatively larger than the small scale hatchery in terms of capital investment, hatchery size, production capability, and skill of operation. While hatchery management is somewhat similar to that of small scale hatchery, where the production capability range between 10 to million post larvae per year and operated by about 3 technical personnel and 3 to 4 laborers. While the small scale hatchery is maybe you only need 1 technical personnel and maybe 2 to 3 laborers, something like that. Medium scale hatchery usually set up by the small cooperative to supply the required shrimp fry to its member growers only. Private entrepreneur or government agencies may also establish hatchery for such operational scale to produce fry uh, to sell or distribute to the growers. Normally, capital investment for medium scale hatchery is between 30 to 100 grams, and the operational investment is not more than 50 grand. Okay, for the large scale hatchery, the capital investment and the operational investment is more than 10 grand and 50 grand respectively. Right, okay, this one is a table for the classification of shrimp hatchery. Supposedly the small, medium and large is located at here. This one is for small, this one is for medium, while this one is for large description, large scale hatchery description. Alright, there's 5 items that can be classified. The first one is the ownership and operation setup. Second one is area or extent cover. The third one is production amount. Number 4 is a number of employees. Number 5 is the tank capacity. For the small scale hatchery, usually is only owned by the family members that serve as a hatchery workers. Yang ni hanya pemilikan oleh keluarga dan diusahakan oleh ahli keluarga sendiri. The fry was only for self-use and is normally using the backyard area, which the production about 1 to 5 million per year of the post larvae or fry. One technician and 2 workers, a very small group of employees, and the tank capacity is around 20 to 100 tons. For the medium scale hatchery, usually owned by the small corporates or national agencies, where the fry is only supplied for the members, with the area around 2 to 5,000 of square feet, and the production is around 10 to 20 millions of fry per year, with the 3 technicians, 3 to 4 workers, and the tank capacity is around 100 to 1,000 tons. For the large scale hatchery, normally is owned by the big corporation or national agency, where the fry is for the commercial purpose, with 5,000 square meter to 1 hectares of size, with more than 20 millions of fry production per year, and the numbers of technician is workers is quite high, which is 3 to 6 technician and 6 to 10 workers, and they have more than 1,000 of total tank capacity. If I'm not mistaken, there are in Malaysia normally we have small, medium scale hatchery around the east and west Malaysia. Then there are few big corporation in the Malaysia. There's a few that I know, such as hatchery owned by CP, which is located at Kuching, or hatchery owned by Asia Aquaculture, located at Johor. Another one is by Blue Archipelago, located at Terengganu. Another hatchery owned by Air Kerpan, located at Kedah, and the other is, if I'm not mistaken, is from the Selangor. There's also one beach hatchery. Okay, at Perak, Tasik Banding, there's also a hatchery for tilapia production owned by big corporation, and they also have very large scales of tilapia farming located in Tasik Banding. That one is a few big corporation that I know and have in Malaysia. Alright, this is example for the indoor and outdoor hatchery. Okay, for the operation, we will start with the brooder loaded in the spawning pool up to the fry will be sell or transfer to the grow out pond. Right. It starts with the mature brooder loaded in the spawning pool for about 4 to 8 hours for conditioning. With the using 40 kg of females and 60 kg of male in the same spawning pool. This one is according to the ratio of male to female by species. Certain species that require more males than females, since some species that require a few females as compared to the males. Alright. And then after that, water jet will be started for the circular motion of the water in the tank. This to give the water movement or to circulate the water. After 8 to 10 hours, inducing hormone was inject, then the spawning will take place. The egg then will be collected from the bottom and transferred to the incubation pool through pipe by opening the valve. For a breeding pool of 8 meters diameter, having 2 incubation pools, 10 million of eggs can be incubated at the time in one operation. Okay, this one you will have a spawning pools ataupun satu kolam untuk spawning. Kemudian kamu akan masukkan induk yang telah matang untuk 4 hingga 8 jam supaya mereka dapat menyesuaikan diri. After that, kamu akan buat kamu akan pasang ataupun turn on the water jet supaya berlakunya pergerakan air di dalam kolam. Kemudian kamu akan inject brooders ataupun induk dengan hormon. Kemudian dia akan spawn secara natural. Once the brooder has spawned ataupun dah mengeluarkan telur dan disenyawakan, then you will collect the eggs using pipes yang dah ada dekat dasar tangki, dan pipes tu akan bawa telur ni pergi kepada incubation pools atau kolam inkubasi, if I'm not mistaken, incubation pools. Right. And next, arrangements are made to circulate the water in the incubation pools. After hatching, they are allowed to remain till yolk sac is absorbed. In 4 days time, the spawn get ready, then collected through spawn collection tank and transfer or stock in well prepared nursery pond for further rearing to fry stage. Okay. Apabila dia dah masuk ke dalam incubation pools, fry ni akan dibiarkan selama 4 hari tanpa makanan, because they will still using their yolk sac. Yolk sac is kantung telur yang ada dekat bawah perut dia, just as you can see during you breed the catfish or keli hari tu, yang ada seperti warna kekuningan ataupun warna orange dekat bawah perut dia. Once the yolk sac is absorbed, then you will transfer this fry to the nursery pond untuk kita boleh sampai fry stage. Alright. The nursery unit of hatchery complex is for raising fry from stock spawn, 4 to 5 mm to 25 to 30 mm in size. Nursery, nursery ponds should preferably be small and shallow. Pond of 0.02 0.06 hectare size and 1 meter to 1.5 meter in depth are generally suitable. Since the culture is for a very short duration and for about 3 weeks only, the pond should have good water supply and drainage arrangement with control inlets and outlets so that they can be emptied, dry and refilled at will. This is for easy and better management. Alright, during this stage at the nursery unit, normally the nursery pond is very small and shallow. Dia saiz dia kecil je, dan kedalaman dia lebih kurang 1 meter ke 1.5 meter sahaja. Okay. Dan duration untuk dekat nursery unit ni is very short. It's about only 3 weeks. Once the size is gain to the required size ataupun size yang kita dah tetapkan, around 25 to 30 mm, lebih kurang dalam 2.5 ke 3 cm, lebih kurang 1 inci. Then after that, you akan transfer pergi ke pond lain pula. Okay, so tank dekat nursery unit ni mesti ada inlet dengan outlet yang ataupun sistem drainage dia yang sangat bagus. You boleh masukkan air dan keluarkan air dengan cepat ataupun senang supaya lebih mudah untuk manage and control this unit. Right, the rearing unit daripada nursery unit tadi pergi ke rearing unit. After the fish have gained size of 1 inch, then you will transfer it to the rearing unit. This unit is for raising fry up to fingerling. Daripada size 1 inci, you akan bawa pergi kepada size 1.5 inci, ataupun daripada size 30 mm, you akan bela dia sampai size 50 mm dan ke atas. This rearing pond should be slightly larger but not too deep. Saiz dia akan lebih besar sikit berbanding dengan nursery unit, tapi kedalaman dia pun taklah terlalu dalam. Dia cuma dalam sikit je daripada tadi. Kalau nursery unit is around 0.02 to 0.06 size in head in size, and kedalaman dia lebih kurang 1 ke 1.5 meter. Tapi untuk rearing unit, the size is around 0.06 to 0.1 hectare in size, and the depth is around 1.5 to 2 meters. Right, once they reach the marketable size, is around 1.5 inch or 50 mm, then you will pack it and supply it to the grower or transfer it to the grow out pond. Right, a unit for packing and marketing is required so as to facilitate the seed supply scientifically after, due to acclimatization and proper oxygen packing in the polyethylene bags. This will reduce the transportation and handling mortality, leaving a good name for the hatchery and to its customer. Okay, once you dah your seeds ataupun fingerling dah boleh dijual, then you akan pack dia ke dalam polyethylene bags. Okay, dengan you acclimatize dan juga bagi oksigen dekat dalam bag tersebut. So you akan letak sejumlah ikan dalam bag, dan you akan masukkan sedikit air dan masukkan oksigen, dan you ikat dia. After that, you put in the lorry or any transportation vehicle, then you transport it. Kalau contoh kata you buat dekat Mukah, dan you perlu transport ke Kuching, mungkin ambil masa 10 ke 15 jam. Okay, so you kena estimate you punya jumlah ikan dengan air, dengan oksigen yang ada tu membandai atau tidak untuk tempoh masa 15 jam. Okay, yang tu pun kena ada calculation. Okay, let's say in case you transport dia untuk hantar ke Kuching, tiba-tiba your lorry breakdown, then you require more than 15 hours. So macam mana, once dah cukup masa dia, you kena reopen the bags, then tukar air, then masuk lagi oksigen, tukar oksigen baru, repack balik, dan simpan. Okay, kalau tak buat macam tu, then your fingerling mungkin boleh mati. Alright. Itu adalah flow daripada macam mana daripada you ada brooders ataupun you ada broodstock sampailah you boleh jual kepada customer. Okay. Advantages of good hatchery design. A good hatchery design can produce a better and natural environment for breeders to spawn. In incubation pool, the regularity and uniformity of currents lead to uniform distribution of fry. The fry, because of current, are better spread compared to stagnant water, where they tend to concentrate in corners or upstream. Because of better spread, such tank can treat greater number of fishes than in other device. Okay. Kalau you ada group hatchery design, maksudnya you boleh stocking you punya fish ataupun seed dengan lebih banyak. Sebab apa? Kalau ikan tu dia distribute throughout the pond, so the fish capacity for the each water capacity akan jadi lebih tinggi. Kalau dia berkumpul pada satu-satu tempat sahaja, so you akan ada problem. Each section ataupun corners or upstream tu, dia punya water quality boleh drop dengan sangat cepat. So it's very important to have regularity and uniformity of currents, so fry akan distribute uniformly. Okay. Right, ini adalah macam mana you nak estimate fingerling production. And macam mana you nak estimate spawn production based on the fingerling production. Okay, kalau lah you your target for fingerling production is about 24 millions. Okay, you punya target for fingerling production, total fingerling production adalah sebanyak 24 juta. So macam mana you kena estimate daripada 24 juta ni, hanyalah 60% sahaja yang survive. So 60% ni adalah daripada 40 juta daripada fry. 40 juta dan hanya 60% sahaja yang survive, so you akan dapat 24 juta fingerling. Dari 40 juta ni, you estimate only 40% will survive from the spawn production. So 40% survive from the spawn production, kita boleh kata dia adalah 100 juta. Okay. So dekat sini, kalau you nak hasilkan 24 juta fingerling, you kena eggs or spawn production is around 100 million. Okay, itu cara paling senang kita nak estimate final ataupun total fingerling production. Contoh kata you nak hasilkan dekat sini sebanyak 30 juta. So you tahu 30 juta ni adalah only 60% that survive from the fry production. So berapa dekat sini? So dekat sini pula you tahu hanya 40% sahaja yang survive daripada spawn production. So dekat sini akan jadi berapa? So bila you tahu dia punya percentage dekat survival rate for each stage, so you boleh estimate banyak mana you perlukan telur untuk setiap kali production. Okay. So dekat sini you boleh tentukan banyak mana brooders ataupun banyak mana broodstock yang you perlukan untuk menghasilkan certain amount of the fingerling. Okay. Okay, this is a plan for hatchery. The most common atau paling basic adalah you ada water source. Water source ni akan difilter masuk ke overhead tank. Then from overhead tank, dia akan pergi kepada breeding incubator and spawn facilities before it goes to the nursery pond, ataupun pergi you jual. So this is the basic untuk apa-apa sahaja ternakan. Basic hatchery punya sistem adalah you ada water source, ada filter atau treatment untuk water. Then you ada overhead tank, di mana overhead tank ni dia akan guna kuasa gravity untuk mengalirkan air. Then you ada a few sectors here, breeding, incubator, spawn and nursery. And after that you akan pergi ke packaging ataupun marketing your fingerling. Okay, in case you are producing a new hatchery or you set up a new hatchery dekat mana-mana negara ataupun kawasan sekalipun, you perlu dapatkan kelulusan daripada local authorities. For this one, for example, is for the Meghalaya State Aquaculture Mission. Okay, application form for establishment of fish seed hatchery. In the form, normally dia akan minta nama, address, biasalah. And then your educational qualification and the experience in the aquaculture sectors, what kind of category you are making for your hatchery, location of the hatchery, then farm details, total area besar mana, water area besar mana. Okay, everything. Kemudian dia akan tanya source of water, source of energy, kalau you ada bank loans of anything, then any document that to be enclosed. Okay, mana-mana tempat sekalipun, if you are try to set up a new hatchery, then you have to go to the local authorities. Contohnya seperti Jabatan Perikanan, LKIM, Department of Environment, ataupun apa lagi, kerajaan negeri. Okay, any local authorities yang terlibat, you perlu jumpa dan dapatkan pengesahan ataupun dia punya SOP untuk permohonan bagi menubuhkan ataupun membuat satu hatchery baru di sesuatu kawasan. Okay, next, broodstock management. Broodstock management simple. Kita guna contoh for the 40 feet container using just plug and play. Okay, establishing the broodstock. Broodstock is a group of mature individuals that use in aquaculture for breeding purpose. Okay, broodstock can be a population of animals that maintain in captivity as a source of replacement or enhancement of seeds and fry numbers. Okay, broodstock adalah individu yang matang digunakan untuk breeding. Okay, di mana ia akan dibela atau dijaga di dalam kurungan untuk replacement or enhancement of seed and fry numbers. Okay, maksudnya you ada broodstock ataupun individu yang matang, you bela dalam kurungan untuk penghasilan benih, sama ada untuk replacement ataupun penambahan benih tersebut. They are generally kept in pond or tank in which environmental conditions were controlled. Environmental condition apa? Such as photo periods, temperature, pH and others. Right. Such population often undergo conditioning to ensure maximum fry output. To work properly and with adequate safety margin, Any hatchery should secure a reliable and sufficient supply of good quality fish egg. Okay, dekat sini dia bagi tahu normally broodstock akan dibela di dalam kolam atau tangki di mana environmental condition dia control. Kenapa? Sebab kita nak memastikan dia boleh menghasilkan fry dengan kadar yang paling maksimum. Okey, nanti saya akan bagi contoh macam mana you nak control the photoperiod temperature of pH untuk memaksimalkan fry output dia. Okey, I think this is the chiller room. This one is maybe for the oxygens. This one is more to like artificial condition for the broodstock. Okay, in the management of fish broodstock unit, the main issues that to be considered are stock dimensioning, stock collection, adaptation to captivity and long-term stocking condition, sexual maturation and spawning according to the production schedules, and renewals of old breeders. Okay, stock dimensioning nanti saya akan cerita. Stock collection is about dari mana you dapatkan stock of brooders ataupun broodstock. Sama ada you dapatkan daripada wilds ataupun daripada ikan yang you dah bela daripada kecil ataupun daripada supplier luar. Okay, stock collection sangat penting sebab nanti dia akan mempengaruhi you punya what we call it, the diversity. Apalah nak sebut tu, orang panggil dia punya genetic diversity dia macam mana. Kalau you ambil wild punya stock, dia punya genetic diversity dia lebih luas berbanding you cross breed sesama ikan yang you dah beli daripada kecil. Okay, genetic diversity ni merujuk kepada kalau kita manusia ni sama ada you kahwin dengan strangers ataupun orang yang tak ada pertalian darah ataupun you kahwin sesama sepupu. Okey, kalau you kahwin sesama sepupu ataupun blood related, so you punya genetic diversity tu akan jadi rendah. Okey, if you kahwin dengan unrelated ataupun orang yang tak ada pertalian darah, so you punya genetic diversity tu akan jadi lebih luas dan lebih bagus. Okay, to the concept. Okay, the third one is adaptation to captivity and long-term stocking condition. Okay, isu yang perlu diambil perhatian juga adalah macam mana ikan ataupun broodstock yang you bela tu dia boleh adapt to captivity ataupun macam mana dia boleh beradaptasi kepada konsep kurungan. Adakah ikan tu boleh dikurung ataupun macam mana you nak cari jalan supaya ikan tu boleh beradaptasi dengan konsep kurungan. Alright, sexual maturation and spawning condition. Sexual maturation and spawning condition ini merujuk pada macam mana you nak, macam saya beritahu tadi, environment condition will control. Macam mana you nak control environment condition supaya dia boleh mature ataupun spawn mengikut pada production schedule. Ada setengah ikan dia akan mature bergantung kepada masa. Ada setengah ikan dia akan mature apabila dah berumur 2 hingga 3 tahun. Ada yang kecil lagi dah mature dah. Okay, ada yang dia perlukan sesuatu keadaan supaya dia boleh bertelur. Okay, let's say contohnya seperti tilapia. Tilapia There needs like drops of temperature, baru dia akan ada ataupun stimulate dia punya egg production. So macam mana kita nak adjust dia adalah kita turunkan suhu air dan buat seperti keadaan seperti hujan. Kita create satu artificial condition di mana tangki dia tu seperti mengalami hujan dan suhu jatuh. Masa tu dia akan producing egg, start to producing egg. Ada juga setengah ikan seperti groupers atau kerapu, dia akan capai sexual maturation ataupun female. Nak dapatkan, kalau tak silap saya, untuk groupers semasa kecil dia adalah jantan, dan bila dah besar, dah capai saiz untuk 2 ke 3 tahun, dia akan bertukar menjadi betina, if I'm not mistaken, ataupun dia boleh bertukar macam tu. Okay, nanti cari balik info tu berkenaan dengan grouper. Ada spesies grouper ni, masa kecil dia adalah betina. Once dia dah besar, dia akan bertukar menjadi jantan. Otherwise, sama ada masa kecil dia betina bertukar jadi jantan, ataupun jantan bertukar jadi betina. Okay, that one is for the sexual. Ada juga yang related on the sexual maturation because of size of the fish. Okay, renewal of old breeder. Renewal of the old breeder is setiap ikan yang you ada ataupun broodstock yang you ada, dia akan meningkat usia. Okay, apabila dah semakin tua, dia punya egg production akan semakin berkurang. Kalau contoh manusia dah masuk umur certain age, yang perempuan akan mengalami proses menopause. Okay, sama juga untuk broodstock, dia akan start untuk producing a low numbers of egg. Okay, contohlah kata pada tahun pertama dia boleh menghasilkan 100,000 telur. Tahun kedua berkurang kepada 80,000 telur. Tahun ketiga berkurang kepada 50,000 telur. So you dah tak boleh nak simpan broodstock tu sebab dia punya production dah semakin berkurang. So you akan rugi. Sepatutnya you boleh hasilkan 100,000 telur untuk satu cycle, tapi sekarang you cuma boleh hasilkan sebanyak 50,000 telur sahaja. So ini adalah isu yang perlu dititik beratkan, di mana you kena replace the old brooders, the old broodstock kepada broodstock yang lebih muda. Macam tu. Okay, alright. Okay, for stock dimensioning this, to properly determine the dimension of broodstock, different parameters should be taken into consideration. The first is seasonal production target for the hatchery has to be set up. In particular, the desired number of fry, the size and species, and delivery timing should be planned. To the purpose, it is important to set the average survival rate from larvae to wean fry. Second, the reproductive characteristics of species such as sexual cycle pattern, egg productivity, and latency period that plays a key role in stock dimensioning. And a third important aspect is represented by the possibility to introduce a year-round supply of egg. We require the manipulation of water period and temperature to obtain out of season maturation. Seperti ni. Okay, saya dah bagi tahu tadi. Okay, saya tambah balik dekat sini adalah yang pertama, kita kena plan the timing of the fry production. Selain itu, kita kena tengok average survival rate of the larvae to wean fry. Okay, so dekat sini kita nak kena tahu berapa banyak ataupun berapa average survival rate daripada larvae kepada fry. So kita boleh estimate berapa production kita. Macam tadi saya pernah explain dekat slide, kalau you nak menghasilkan total production 24 juta benih, so banyak mana you kena estimate untuk spawn production ataupun penghasilan telur. Okay, itu adalah macam mana kita nak plan kita punya production. The second is reproductive characteristic. Okay, sexual cycle pattern, egg productivity and latency period. Okay, yang ni merujuk kepada apa yang saya beritahu sebelum ni. Ada setengah spesies dia ada cycle pattern dia. Contohnya macam grouper, dia ikut cycle lunar calendar. Dia akan trigger ataupun stimulate untuk penghasilan telur apabila bulan cerah. Okay, lunar calendar adalah kalender bulan. Okay, grouper ataupun kerapu dia akan stimulate apabila bulan cerah. Bulan mengambang, dia akan stimulate untuk penghasilan telur. Itu contoh dia. Okay, so another thing is macam tilapia, dia perlukan condition seperti hujan. Okay, so that one is macam mana kita nak stimulate reproductive characteristics of certain species supaya egg productivity and the latency period kita boleh kecilkan. Okay, latency period ni nanti saya akan bagi tahu. Dia lebih kepada kekerapan penghasilan telur dalam masa setahun. Okay, yang ketiga ni adalah possibility to introduce a year-round supply of egg. Konsep dia lebih kurang sama, di mana you akan manipulate the photo period ataupun temperature supaya dia out of season boleh menghasilkan telur. Macam tadi, tilapia, you dropkan suhu dia supaya temperature dia berubah, dia akan stimulate untuk menghasilkan telur. Okay. Ada juga kalau macam contoh udang ataupun udang galah. Macam mana nak stimulate dia? Mungkin dengan cara introduce to the salt water. Okay, so dia akan stimulate untuk penghasilan telur. Okay, so you boleh obtain out of season maturation and spawning. Okay, this is the latency punya table. Contohnya macam sea bass kan, dia punya egg productivity dia adalah lebih kurang 300,000. Tapi bergantung juga kepada dia punya fertilization rate dengan hatching rate, di mana kalau fertilization rate dia lebih kurang 90-90% dan hatching rate dia adalah lebih kurang 75-85%, so daripada 300,000 ni you cuma boleh dapat 220,000 sahaja per year. Okay, latency adalah lebih kurang 6 bulan. Selepas 6 bulan dia bertelur, barulah dia akan menghasilkan telur baru. Berbanding dengan sea bream, telur dia lebih banyak, 800,000. Fertilization rate dengan hatching rate dia pun lebih kurang sama. You akan dapat telur yang lebih banyak, 560,000. Tapi latency period dia lebih kurang 12 bulan. Selepas 12 bulan baru dia akan menghasilkan a new egg, ataupun you boleh spawn ataupun you boleh breed pula. Okay, so setiap spesies dia berbeza. Mungkin kalau spesies lain macam tilapia, dia lebih cepat, around 3 months dah menghasilkan telur baru. Keli mungkin lebih cepat berbanding dengan spesies sea bass atau sea bream. Ianya bergantung kepada setiap spesies. So yang ni juga you perlu tahu supaya you boleh estimate macam mana penghasilan ataupun the total production of the fingerling. Okay, although these parameters are already conservative to face any possible egg shortage during spawning seasons, a safety margin in stock size is recommended. A practical ways for planning purpose is therefore to consider the following average female fecundity per season. Okay, contoh tadi kita estimate sea bass akan menghasilkan 300,000 telur dan boleh menghasilkan 220,000 fingerling. Okay, tapi kita letak safety margin dia cuma boleh menghasilkan 120,000. Sebab apa? Kita takut kita expect tinggi, tapi at the end dia punya penghasilan telur ataupun fertilization rate and hatching rate dia rendah. So you dah lagi daripada you punya planning ataupun production planning. Right, so this is the safety margins in stock size. Spesies apa-apa pun you kena ada estimation. More or less you akan estimate 50% sahaja yang betul-betul boleh survive. Alright. Size at first sexual maturity and optimal size for spawning. Okay, Yang ni adalah perbezaan saiz pada first sexual maturity dan optimal size untuk spawning. Okey, contohnya untuk sea bass dengan sea bream dekat sini. Untuk male dengan female sendiri pun, untuk sea bass, the size is quite different. Male is around 23 to 30 cm, while for the female is from 31 to 40 cm. Size at the first maturity. Okay. Umur dia lebih kurang, kalau male 2 ke 3 tahun dah boleh jadi induk. As compared to female, dia perlukan masa 3 hingga 5 tahun, barulah dia boleh jadi induk. Okay. Sama juga untuk sea bream, di mana males akan matang awal, female akan matang lambat. Okay. For the optimal size and age, normally Y akan lebih cepat matang berbanding farm. Dekat sini sea bass 0. Untuk male around 2 to 4 years, as compared to the farm, it takes 3 to 4 years untuk mature. Kalau untuk female 5 to 8, while for farm, for female is around 6 to 8 years. Lama ni kena bela. Sampai 6 tahun, 8 tahun baru boleh guna. For the sea bream, males around 1 to 3 years untuk Y dengan farm, while for the females, untuk Y 3 hingga 5 tahun, farm 4 to 6 years. It's because dekat Y ni dia akan dapat natural environment yang boleh stimulate dia punya maturity dengan lebih cepat berbanding dengan farm. Kita control dia throughout the year dan kita tak bagi dia natural environment, which is sebab tu dia punya optimal size untuk spawning dia akan lebih lambat. Right. Spesies lain bergantung juga. Kalau untuk keli dan tilapia mungkin tak sampai 2 hingga 4 tahun, mungkin setengah tahun atau 1 tahun dah jadi induk yang bagus. Right. So nya kena tengok balik kepada jenis spesies yang kita culture. Okay, broodstock system. Yang ni I think is for the DC unit, direct current, di mana you control this one. On off apa semua. This one is the tank with the broodstock. This is the airline tube. This one is airline tube. This is the, it's not acetone, tapi lebih kepada semi permeable tube. Di mana konsep dia lebih kurang sama dengan acetone. Dia juga mengeluarkan buih udara. Okay, this one is the suggested incubation system for the salmon, di mana penghasilan dia lebih kurang 24 juta per tahun. Yang ni kita ada incubation tank ataupun nursery, incubation tank, nursery. I think this one is more to algae section, store. Right. Okay. This one is more or like to the filtration system, if I'm not mistaken. Ini lebih kepada filtration system, water storage pond ataupun water storage tank. This one is the incubation system, di mana tray, there's a lot of tray here, and each tray consists of salmon eggs. Dan normally dia akan guna sistem ada air keluar dan air masuk yang efisien. This one is the nursery tank, I think. Okay. So normally kalau you hatchery yang menggunakan sistem yang sangat bagus, dia akan lebih kepada penggunaan sistem RAS, recirculating aquaculture system, di mana you akan ada air keluar dan ada air masuk, dan air ni akan dirawat supaya boleh digunakan balik. Okay. Penggunaan sistem RAS ni, it can helps you to stop a very high density of fish. Okay, contoh tengok dekat sini, dia punya fish density sangat padat. Ini kerana ianya disokong oleh penggunaan air yang berkualiti tinggi. Alright. Okay, this one I think this the fry system, di mana tangki dia akan lebih besar, dan this is treatment system di mana air akan dirawat dan disalur balik kepada dalam fry system ataupun ke dalam tangki-tangki besar ni. Untuk fry system, normally kita boleh guna pelbagai jenis tangki, such as fiber tank or plastic tank, canvas or concrete tank. This is depends on your hatchery setup. Okay, pre-mold system, mold system. Okay, I want you to find what is mold system. Okay, later on share it in the group. What is the mold system? Okay, kalau boleh jangan bagi tahu dekat orang lain, just buat je then send dekat group. So daripada sini saya boleh tahu siapa yang baca dan siapa yang tak baca notes. Okay, nanti share dekat saya what is mold system. Senang je mold system ni. Kalau you google je, you boleh dapat jawapan dia. Alright. Okay, for the filtration system nanti saya akan sambung balik dalam next topic ataupun next video. Okay, alright, thank you.